Alright, so today we will be solving a quadratic by factoring. So in IB you may get a question like this. So you have the function f of x is equal to x squared. Why is it thick? Yeah. So you might get a question like f of x is equal to x squared plus 8x plus 15. Random numbers. And the question is going to ask you, find the points of intercept where y is equal to 0. So you're going to get a question like this. And if you were to draw the parabola, you'd get something like this. Let me draw a proper one. And, sorry. And yeah, this point would be 0, 15. And yeah. So you might be faced with a question like this. And the question's going to ask you, find the points of intercept. So it's telling you find the points of these guys right here. The coordinate of these two intercept points where y is equal to 0. Now, there are many ways to do this. You can use a quadratic equation. You can complete the square. But for the purpose of this video, we will be solving the quadratic by factoring. So, what we're going to do first is we're going to look at our function first. We're going to look at our function and we're going to assess it. So we have x squared. We're going to leave this guy to the side. We won't need him now. We're going to look at our 8x and we're going to look at 15. Now, when solving for a quadratic, you always need to think, what two numbers will multiply to give me 15 and add up to give me 8? So let's attempt to solve to find what numbers multiply to 15 and add to 8. So I'm going to work in order from 15 and go down and hopefully find a number. So let's see. I'll go for blue actually. All right, so we got 15 multiplied by 1 is going to give me 15. So that multiplies to give me 15, but adds up to give me 16, not 8. Let's go down. 17.5 multiplied by 2 multiplies to 15, but gives me 9.5. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people do this mistake, and I'm just going to go on a box so you guys can see. Never, 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 never attempt to add a decimal number into your fraction. It's just don't. It's basically bad grammar. You can think of it as bad grammar. So yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people. I've seen a lot of people do this in IB exams, especially in past papers, and they've not. The examiner was like, "I'm not giving a mark." So just stay away from decimal numbers when you're factoring. Let's move down. So we got 5 multiplied by 3, which gives us 15. Add them up. 5 plus 3 is 8. All right, we're getting somewhere. So two numbers that multiply to 15 and add to give me 8. All right, so we are getting somewhere. Now, so we have 5 and 3 add up to give 8 and multiply to give 15. You don't need to include that in your examination. I'm just leaving this a note for you guys. So now we need to factor. So factoring is basically compressing it. So we have a number that's adding up to 8 and to multiply to 16. But now what about x squared? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a bracket. I'm actually going to do it in red. So I'm going to have a bracket. I'm going to put x here. I'm going to put a positive sign right here. I'm going to have x, a positive sign, and a close bracket. Now, I'm going to take my number 5, and I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put my number 3, and I'm going to put it here. It doesn't matter in which order it goes in. Just that, make sure it's in the right sign. If it were a negative, then yeah, you put a negative. So we have x plus 3 and x plus 5. Now, these aren't your x points, x coordinates for your points of intercepts. These are just your, these are just numbers that are gonna help us get our points of intercepts. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do x plus 3 is equal to 0. And I'm going to do x plus 5 equal to 0. We need to find these 2 points right here. And that's what I just did. So now I'm going to substitute. So I'm just going to do minus 3. So x is going to equal to minus 3, minus 5, minus 5. I just got rid of this. That's x is equal to minus 5. So now we can see that our points of intercept are in -3 and -5. Now you might be asking, why did you not just take +5 and +3? Well, pay attention to the graph. So this is our first quadrant, and my x values are always going to be positive, and my y values are always going to be negative. In the second quadrant, my x values are going to always be negative, but always be positive. My y values are going to be positive and my x values are going to be negative. For the third quadrant, everything is negative. And for the fourth quadrant, my x values are always positive and my y values are always negative. So therefore, I can't have a positive in my second quadrant or my third quadrant. So what we're going to do is we are going to multiply. We're gonna not multiply, sorry, we're just gonna have to do this process that I just did right here to get my coordinates. Now, another thing you can do is, instead of having to do this process, is just flip the sign. So so I'm gonna rewrite it down here. So x plus 3 and then x plus 5. Just flip the sign. So your x value would be -3, and your x value would be -5. And there you go. So looking at from an examiner's perspective, I would get, let's see, 1 mark here for sure. I'd get a mark here for factorizing it. I'd get maybe a mark here and a mark here for my final answer. You might get 2 marks, you might get 1 mark for both. So that's where I said this question may be a 2 or 3 mark. Hopefully you guys found this useful. Again, practice more. Try to get at different functions. Keep practicing more. The more you practice, the better. Remember, you learn math by doing math. The more you do math, the more you learn. And yeah, hopefully this video was helpful. If not, make sure you leave a comment and I'll hopefully end up making another video where I'll be discussing more solving quadratics by factorizing. Have a great day.